All right. Well, then I will stop pretending like I'm being broadcast because I'm losing content. Yeah, we're good. You see me? You see me, hear me? Cool. All right. Hello. Sorry for that 2 minute and 51 second delay. We are here and we are live. Hopefully that gave everybody enough time to come on in and settle in. We'll probably be here for hoping to be like 40 or so, 45 minutes. So buckle up. We are doing it live. We don't do lives a lot, so be prepared for little things here and there. We're in the manufacturing building of 64 Audio in Vancouver, Washington. So there are in-ears being made right outside these walls. We're in a studio that we built on the inside, but there's in-ears being made all over the place. So just to give everybody an idea of what's going on, we're going to be unboxing a Volür, kind of doing our standard unboxing thing. Maybe some of you guys have seen it on our YouTube channel, and we'll go through some of the details and kind of some of the nuances of the product. And then afterwards, we'll bring in the Vitalis to do some Q&A. You know, we gathered some questions on social media, on some of the forums, and hopefully you got all your questions in. If you feel like something hasn't been answered, put it in the chat. We're monitoring that as well, so we'll be able to answer those if there's anything very kind of relevant to the topic. But yeah, let's get started. We're at 64 Audio. My name is Philip. I'm the marketing manager here, and we are going to be unboxing our new universal in-ear monitor, Volür. Volür is a 10-driver UIEM universal in-ear monitor, and it came out a couple weeks ago. Really excited about it. For folks not super familiar with us, 64 Audio is an in-ear monitor manufacturer. We make custom in-ear monitors, universal in-ear monitors. So ones that fit custom to your ear, ones that fit generically. So any tips will be able to get them in your ear. We've been doing this ever since 2010. We serve musicians, audio engineers, audiophiles, really any music enthusiast or any people who need a very good reference level audio device. So that expands past all those categories, of course. And we've had a lot of success in the last decade or so, especially with our patented technology, something that really sets us apart. And we continue to innovate. You know, we go fairly slow when it comes to some of our benchmark technologies, and you know, you kind of see that throughout our history, and Volür is one of those examples where you see some seriously new and innovative things, and we'll get to that in the unboxing and some of the following content. But yeah, let's get started. Sorry, live. This still has the wrap on it, so I left my sharp device in another room, but no worries, we got it open. For all you folks who like the ASMR stuff, hopefully this isn't too loud. This is hot off the press from our manufacturing floor. So there we go, get that out of the way. One thing you notice right out of the gate with the packaging, although it looks similar, I don't know if you could tell in the image, but all of the print and all the logos have this kind of iridescent thing to them. I'll do some flashing back and forth here for you. We thought it was kind of an interesting idea just because Volür is so iridescent. When you're looking at that abalone faceplate, it plays with the light so well, and it has so many interesting colors you can kind of get lost in. So it was a little homage to the faceplate itself. Another thing you notice is the box underneath, less noticeable maybe on camera, but it is also this kind of dark purple, the color being taken from the faceplate as well, and that is also iridescent. So little Easter eggs here and there. With all of our packaging, you'll see the wireframe view on the back, which kind of gives you a quick idea of what's inside of there. And that's one of the really cool things about Volür, is just how much is packed inside of one of these shells. And we'll kind of get to more of that later. And then you can scan the QR code. If you're in a shop and you want to learn more, you scan the QR code, it'll take you to the product page. Our patented technology. And then this little thing that says true is meant to mean true isobaric. And the kind of, you see the little icon there represents what we're talking about. And we'll go into more detail there. But yeah, we'll slide this open, leave that here. Hopefully that's in frame. Everything's very good. Our bigger boxes we usually use for our higher end models, starting with U12T, I believe. So all the models above that have these larger boxes, and all the models below that have the slightly smaller one. And then the large ones are packaged as so. One major thing you notice in Volür is it comes with this little metal card, a little message from Vitaly about the M12 modules that come in the packaging. We'll get into that as well. A lot of really cool stuff about that. Just to get the accessories out of the way, these are pretty tight. There we go, get the accessories out of the way. Comes with our little tip holder. 3 types of tips in 3 different sizes. The top of the leather case. Our black premium cable. Cleaning tool, very important cleaning tool. And the shirt clip. I like to mention this in some of the unboxing videos. The shirt clip, although typically used in pro audio kind of environments, sorry about that, typically used in pro audio environments, used to keep the cable from kind of pulling on your head, is still relevant for folks listening in a non-live environment. And it has to do with microphonics. Kind of get into that once we plug them in. And then I always forget if there's something underneath here. There is. All right, cool. Underneath the Hear, Feel, Create little tab is our module holder. So you can see, typically with most of our universal IEMs, it comes with the M20, M15, and MX module. And the one that's in them typically is kind of what the target response is, and then you can mess around with them from there. But one thing you see here is the gold one, which is our M12 module. This was originally released alongside U4S and kind of included with that as a promotion. And then since then, we've brought it back and released it on the website to be able to purchase for anyone who is interested in hearing that. M12 module was developed to be a balance between the MX module and M15 module. Although the isolation difference between M20, M15, and MX are all pretty even, around 5 dB or so difference, the bass drop off between the latter two, the MX and the M15 and the MX module, is pretty drastic, and you kind of see that in some measurements online. And so adding one in between really gives it a solid spot in between for those who think the bass drop off was a little too much going to this black MX module. So it's really cool. I really loved it with the U4S when it released. I really like it with this one as well. Obviously, models that have a bit more bottom end, it gives a lot more options too. And then let's see, there's something underneath here for sure. Yes, okay, another fun thing about Volür is it not only has that iridescence on the box, but it has one of these neat iridescent stickers along with the classic one. We'll set that aside here. So Volür, like I said, is a 10 driver universal in-ear monitor. It's crossed over 4 ways, so bass, low mid, mids, and highs are, or I'd say lows, low mids, high mids, and highs are all taken care of by dedicated driver packs. I'll read off some of the specs really quick. 2 dynamic drivers for the bass, 6 balanced armature drivers for the low mids, 1 balanced armature driver for the high mids, and our direct radiating TIA driver for the highs. Frequency response 5 hertz to 22 kilohertz. Sensitivity is 103 dB at per milliwatt or 1 milliwatt, and 6.3 ohm impedance, which is measured at 1K, but it has our lid technology, so it's relatively linear across the spectrum. And the isolation ranges from minus 20 dB to minus 10 dB, depending on which module you're using. So we'll set that aside for now. The tips, it comes with the spin fit tips. I forget which model they are, but it's a nice option to have in the 3 sizes. Our kind of proprietary foam tips, also 3 sizes, and our wide nozzle silicone tips. They all kind of affect frequency response to a certain degree, so that's one thing you'll notice going between them. But really, I think it's more of a comfort thing. You want to be able to enjoy them and actually listen to them for long periods of time. So when it comes to tips, that's what I really recommend to folks is, yes, they might affect frequency response to a certain degree, but pick the ones that feel comfortable for you, because that's what'll actually make you want to listen to these. Cleaning tool, one thing I'd recommend with the cleaning tool is not to dig in too hard with the little metal part. I don't know if you see that with the little metal part, just because there's a screen there that's protecting the TIA driver. Really do most of your labor with these little guys. The cable we updated about a couple years ago to this new one. Everyone seems to dig it a bit more. I really like it. It's kind of a less microphonics, a little bit less tangly, and beefier. Folks in the high-end community like the thick cables. I do too. Pretty cool. And yeah, like I said with the shirt clip, one thing I like to always mention is you can use the shirt clip to sort of decouple the cable from the rest of the cable from the actual in-ears themselves. So once you're wearing them, you kind of clip it up here so that you have a little bit of slack, and anything that's happening to this end of the cable, you won't necessarily hear microphonically coming through because it'll be decoupled, so to speak. So put the in-ears on. Gotta figure out which side is which. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. You want to zoom in on that one. See how the light plays off. It's really cool. The M15 module is kind of where the target frequency response is for this. We took all the pictures and stuff, and on the website it's with the MX modules because it looks a lot cooler, just black on black, but really the kind of what they're tuned with is this gray one. But then again, you can use the Apex modules to tune them in whatever way you want. The Apex modules affect noise isolation, pressure relief, bass response, and mix width. So you'll notice, between some of them it's not as drastic, and then between others it is a lot more drastic, but that's kind of what these are for, and it gives you essentially 4 different signatures, 4 distinct sounding in-ear monitor flavors. But overall, what makes Volür not just another hybrid IEM is what I mentioned earlier, is some of that kind of slow churned benchmark technology that we're known for. And one of the big ones is the isobaric configuration of the 2 dynamic drivers. You can learn more about that on our website. Vitaly's will be answering some questions about how it really works in the Q&A, but it's really cool. For me, at least, as far as in listening tests, what it gives me is, the way I describe it is, because of the damping characteristics that it improves, it seems to be less kind of low-end smear to me that I typically get from a dynamic driver. And what that low-end smear is, at least in the way that I perceive it, is it's adding noise, because after a transient hit or some sort of bass note, there's kind of those few milliseconds of sound that haven't dissipated quite quick enough, and so it's just adding noise, and it's like lessening your perception of detail. So with Volür and with the isobaric driver setup, because it seems to be less noise, it almost makes the background darker, and so those bass notes, the information in the bottom end, comes through with a little bit more detail, and it offers detail throughout the rest of the spectrum a little bit more because of that darker background. And the 2 bands, the low mid and the high mid band, were really taken from Neo, our universal model that we released in 2020. You'll see a lot of similarities because this kind of started as an experiment to make Neo better, and it really turned into its whole own thing. in the end when we released Volür. But the low mid driver pack, the high mid driver are kind of brought over from Neo, although its implementation in the IEMs itself is dramatically different, just from the 3D printed housing with integrated tuning features that it uses to actually put them in. And then one of the big ones is the TIA waveguide. TIA waveguide, for folks who are kind of familiar with speakers, with, whether it's high-end audio or pro audio, you see waveguides all over the place, whether it's a horn or little fins here and there. It's just something to affect the sound that's coming out of the driver. So you'll see a bit more of that in the Q&A, and also go on our website, check out, you'll see some diagrams and stuff. But it's essentially a way for us to bring up the amplitude of the high frequencies. That's what we wanted to do with the highs that we were getting from Neo. And we added that waveguide. It brought up the amplitude of the highs, and we added the diffusion windows to kind of smoothen it out. So you have this IEM that satisfies both the kind of bass head audiophile as well as the detail-oriented, kind of precision-oriented audiophile. So, and with the Apex modules, you can really dial that into your preferences. But yeah, that's what really kind of sets this thing apart. It's a big deal because it's a lot to pack. I mean, you can kind of see in the wireframe here, all of that, 2 9mm driver, dynamic drivers, the 6 BAs, the TIA driver, the 1 BA for high mids, it's all in here. We had to redesign the shell on the inside to be able to accommodate all that space. And you'll notice that it is not any bigger. I mean, I don't want to, I think I'm right about that. It's not any bigger than Neo or some of our other models, even though it has so much more in it. So that's a really powerful thing. And I think people notice kind of how ergonomic our shells are typically. So yeah, this is Volür. This is our 10 driver hybrid universal in-ear monitor. Go check it out. Go on our website to learn more. There's a lot of videos online. Check out our blog for really detailed stuff. But yeah, we will transition to the Q&A portion of the video. So stick around. It'll be like a minute as we shuffle around. There'll be some music in the background, but this is the better part of the video, the Q&A. So stick around. All right. All right, let's do this.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Vitaly Belanoshko, and this is...
Also Vitaly, but not Belanoshko. Vitaly G.
So what do you do here, Vitaly?
R&D.
R&D.
Yes.
So product development.
Product development, and I manage a team of some bright young guys, so it's always fun.
That's awesome. And for those of you that don't know, I founded 64 Audio, or as before it was used to be called 1964 Ears, back in 2010. So my official title is CEO and CTO of 64 Audio. And I gotta say, like, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. I remember talking to the guys probably a year or two ago, if not more, that I really want to get the two Vitalis on Q&A, because as Vitali said, he's the product developer, and a lot of what you guys have experienced or have listened to in the past, I don't know how many years, 5 years, maybe
Since 2016, probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Vitali had a lot to do with it, so it's a pleasure for me to do this, to finally kind of make my my dream reality, to do a Q&A for you guys from the two Vitalis that, you know, in terms of product development and stuff like that, are probably the guys you want to talk to. First of all, just before we get into the questions and everything, I just wanted to quickly acknowledge and say that our hearts go out to what's going on in Israel right now. As an immigrant, you know, as someone who came to this country to seek freedom and to seek opportunity, again, just I'm just crushed to see what's going on, and you guys are in our prayers and in our hearts. So I just didn't want to do this without acknowledging that, because that is something that's pretty important to me. So anyways, I just wanted to, for those who are just tuning in, quickly just recap what Volür is. And Phil did such a great job of explaining, and I thought, like, on the bass part, he took the words right out of my mouth. But anyways, Volür is a 10-driver hybrid that has this true isobaric technology in it. And while the true isobaric isn't new to the world, but I do believe that it's new in terms of how we implemented it in an UIEM, and that's why we call it the true isobaric. And so we're gonna get into the questions here, and one of the questions that was asked is, what does Volür mean? What does the name mean? I don't know if Phil talked about this. I don't think so, but you know, it's always, I guess, an interesting question. How do you name a product, right?
Yeah.
And we went back and forth. We knew that this product was so special that it required, you know, a really good name. I would say I personally wanted to have a unique name, and so when the guys came up with this name of Volür, me being from the Soviet Union, I remember there was this material that was called Volür, and it was something that the rich people would have. It's a really soft and kind of velvety type of material. They would make like expensive drapes out of them, and hats and things like that. But that material is spelled Velour, and so to me they are pronounced the same, but obviously we have a unique spelling that sets it apart. But to me, it just kind of reminded, when I heard that name, it just kind of fit with the product, that it's a very velvety and a very pleasant and very musical sound that your ear doesn't get tired of. So, you know, again, just the way we spell it, it is original, but it does, for me personally, have that root in this really nice feeling fabric. So hopefully that answers that question. And the next question that was submitted is, what inspired Volür? And as you guys know, or some of you may know, that in 2020 we released this product called the Neo, and we got a lot of good feedback on that. It's still selling. It's still a very liked product. But one of our distributors kind of challenged us and said something like, well, can you guys top the Neo? Kind of like, can you do something better with it? And honestly, that's what kind of, I would say, kickstarted this quest of how do we make the Neo better? And we even internally kind of had these discussions. Should it be based on the Neo? Should it be something completely different? But I think that was the inspiration, is how do you take something that's good and that already ticks a lot of the boxes, and how do you even make it better? And so Vitaly will talk a little bit about what that journey looked like. And I would ask you the next question, Vitaly, that kind of along the lines of this subject, that how long was the research and development phase of Volür? How long have you been working on it since inception?
Well, if we're gonna look at the full timeline of what it took to get Volür onto the market, it's been a while, but the that includes production, logistics, materials, all the stuff that needs to be figured out. The actual research and development portion of the project was, I would want to say, the meat of all that work was probably about 4 months of just going back and forth, trying different things. I think we went through at least 3 or 4 different iterations that used dual drivers. The drivers were different, they were configured differently, but all of them didn't live up to what we were looking for. And so it took a while to kind of get to the point where we saw potential. And after that, it took maybe about a month or so to finalize the tuning and dial in the minute details that we were trying to achieve.
Yep, I remember you bringing me some of the first iterations, and I think we were both looking at, after listening, we were both looking at each other going like, this is kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
This isn't going in the direction where we want. And that's again, that's where that search for other technologies.
I had a tough time with that because when we built the first prototype of what birthed this, I listened to it first and I was disappointed, and I just felt like terrible. I just so let down.
All that work for nothing.
Yeah, I was let down, and then I thought, well, maybe I'm just having a bad ear day. Let's see what Vitaly B thinks. And I didn't want to color your impression, so I said nothing. I was just like, hey, can you check it out? Tell me what you think. And you came back with the same kind of like, I think it's worse than the Neo. So that it can't be the direction that we're going into. We have to be better than the last product. So it took a while, but we did it.
Yep. Well, I'm glad we did. The next question that is on here is, why is true isobaric bass such a big deal? Do we have an hour to explain this?
True isobaric bass is a big deal because it has a lot of really cool advantages over just having 2 drivers firing into the same space. And in the speaker world, it's not as common or popular anymore because driver technology has progressed so much. But earlier 70s, 80s, this was a way to get really good bass in really small boxes. And there are still advantages to this even today. It's just that it's sort of cost prohibitive for a lot of people because you're, instead of buying one nice expensive woofer, you're buying 2, and per speaker or per sub or wherever you're integrating. So how's it different than all the other methods of integrating 2 drivers? How's it different from what other people claim as isobaric? The difference mainly lies in how the sound is, how the 2 drivers are configured. So normally, if you just have 2 drivers firing into the same space, the 2 drivers are kind of fighting each other. You have one space of air volume, and you have 2 diaphragms pushing air into the same volume. So those 2 diaphragms are going to be fighting each other because as this increases the pressure, this is trying to increase the pressure, and they're increasing the pressure together, but they're also fighting each other. With an isobaric setup, it's kind of a different configuration. And in our visual aid example here, can kind of show you why is this different. It's because the diaphragm of one driver fires into the back space or the back vent air volume of the second driver. So what that is doing is kind of like one diaphragm is pushing or helping to push the other. So instead of fighting each other, they're actually helping each other. And the benefits of that in the speaker world are, like I said, you can literally half the size of the speaker enclosure and still achieve the same low frequency extension as you would with one driver, but twice the size of the box. It also comes with other benefits. One of them being increased motor strength. And this one's kind of obvious. You have two drivers, you've coupled them, now they're one driver. So that means that the motor structure is doubled.
It's like a dual motor Tesla.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got two of the voice coils and you've got two of the magnets. So that means it increases the BL of the speaker. That's the parameter that is describing the motor strength of the driver. What that tends to do is add benefits like better controlled bass or just better controlled driver, which means potentially better decay characteristics and things like that. I think that covers most of that.
Lower distortion.
Lower distortion, and it's kind of hard to tell how much of it is attributed to what, because this isn't just an off-the-shelf driver that we got. We did kind of work on developing this driver and improving it, and it has a lot of benefits because we used a very high-grade magnet, so we have a lot of sensitivity gain just from
very
that.
Strong magnet.
Yep, and it also had reduced distortion. So between the driver being better and having lower distortion, and between using the isobaric configuration, we have really lowered the distortion in the bass on the Volür as opposed to the Neo. Yeah.
Well, to sum up everything that Tala just said, I think it's quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Because by taking two low frequency drivers and using them in the traditional way, you're gonna get more bass. But the question is what's the quality of that
Actually,
bass?
that's the one thing I forgot to mention. So when you have two drivers firing into the same space, they're both going to contribute to the SPL of the sound. So and depending on how you wire them, if you're wiring in parallel, you get a 6 dB boost, and then if you're wiring in series, you get only a 3 dB boost. Now, if you actually have an isobaric configuration, you will not get that 6 dB boost or that 3 dB boost because you don't get those benefits. You do not get a boost in sensitivity because you're just putting the work of that driver towards making a better driver, and that energy does not get transferred the same way. So the fact that we increased the sensitivity of the driver beforehand really helped us here because we were able to maintain the sensitivity and not lose anything, but still get the benefits of having a true isobaric setup.
Kind of the best of both worlds. So the next question pertains to the high section of Volür, and it goes, how does the response of the TIA waveguide compare to other high frequency drivers or high frequency driver trends like the EST driver? That's that electrostat driver that's kind of been popular in the last few years. So this is Volür is our first product to use the TIA waveguide, so I guess it's worth talking about. What exactly does the waveguide do?
So the waveguide, it's literally what it sounds like. It guides the waves. So what the benefit of that is, instead of the high frequencies that are coming out of the open TIA driver, instead of them bouncing around and basically ending up wherever they end up, whether that's in the canal of the IEM, in the canal of the ear, or even going back into the IEM, the waveguide helps direct those high frequencies out. And so less of them are reflected back into the inside of the shell, and more of them make it to the ear. Less cancellation effect. So the difference that we found when we did some early testing was that we were able to boost the high frequency output above 10 kilohertz by roughly 14 dB.
That's dramatic.
Yeah, in our shell. So that means we can assume maybe there were some acoustic interactions that were maybe canceling a little bit, and some of that and a lot of that energy I think was just reflected back into the inside of the IEM rather than making it to the ear, and so it made a huge difference in terms of boosting our super tweeter range, or our air, I guess, and it's really quite something. I think it's pretty profound, and I think people will hear
Yep.
that boost. Now, we in the final iteration of the Neo, we didn't use all 13 dB. We dialed it into taste. So just so you guys are not worried that we're gonna blast you with high frequencies, this was just to show the potential of the technology. As far as comparing to other driver technologies like EST, obviously it's a very different driver. We have played around with ESTs before. We've never built a product using that driver. The problem that I saw with that driver was mainly the sensitivity of the driver was really low, and you'd have to stack a lot of them to get any usable, well, not usable, to get a reasonable output from it, because all our other drivers are up here and the EST is down here. And you either have to pull all these other drivers down and pad them down, or you have to stack all your ESTs until you get them up high. And that takes up a lot of space. The transformer takes up a lot of space. It's just not practical. At least it hasn't been up until now. And I'm not saying we will do anything with an EST or that we won't do anything with an EST. It's just that our TIA driver is so good. What's the point of fixing something that's not broken?
Yep.
I hope that kind of answers that.
Yep, it does.
Okay, so
I was just going to tack on one little thought. What I love about the waveguide is that we get so much more high frequency without sticking another driver in there.
Yep.
It makes it it doesn't break the rest of our design. We're still able to do what we need to do, like have apex and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a brilliant invention.
the next question is for you, Vitaly. Will there be a CIEM variation of the Volür in the near future?
I think the short answer is no, just because of certain factors, and I don't want to get into all of them, at least not for the time being. But there was another question submitted kind of along the lines of, will we see the isobaric configuration implemented in future products? And that I can say yes to, because we're playing around with designs right now that do use the dual load driver in a true isobaric configuration, but it's not exactly the Volür design. So no and yes. So I guess that's some good news.
The next one is 64 Audio exploring bone conduction technology? And are you open to it? And what are your feelings on it?
Well, again, this is without kind of giving up too much of what goes on behind the curtain here. Yes, I'm personally very interested in bone conduction technology. I do see that it has applications, although it's harder to do than with just regular drivers, because just by the nature of it. I had this experience where I was playing a little instrument, and it was like a melodica, and just for the fun of it, it's an instrument where you blow into it, and for the fun of it, I just kind of bit my teeth onto the instrument, and my whole head got filled with sound, and kind of had this aha moment of, bone conduction is very powerful if used correctly. So to make it short, yes, it's something I'm personally very fascinated with, and I do think it's going to make its way into some products down the line. All right. Let's see here. So someone asked, how does the Volür compare to the Sony Z1R?
Well, I don't know how I feel about commenting on a competitor's product, so I'll say this: they're two very different products. The Sony Z1R, I believe, is a 3-driver
I think so.
configuration. If I'm asked to be 4, but I'm pretty sure it's 3, and it uses large, I think 12 or 13 millimeter woofer for the bass. They're different products. I don't want to comment on how they sound, but I think both are great products, and you guys should listen for yourselves and compare for yourselves.
Yeah, I think it'd be best if someone else did that comparison.
Yep.
And then gave all you guys their unbiased opinion, because we're going to be somewhat biased.
Yep.
But good question. I mean, that's the Sony Z1R is a great product, and I think it was pretty popular a few years back. And then we have this question that probably both of us can chime in on, and that is, what made us change the bezel on the faceplate? I was gonna make a quick joke and say, like, we just couldn't, we couldn't get a tool to make a round one, but in reality, design trends change. What kind of inspired me to want to do that and be excited about making a change to our classic faceplate shape is that the world is going to more of a kind of an edgier look. You can tell iPhones are getting a little more square and things like that. So I think it's only natural that we observe the designs or the design trends that are out there and evolve with that.
Yeah. I would add to that we are always exploring ways to make our products look stunning and beautiful, and even if it looks like it sometimes on the surface that we're not changing things, we are changing lots of things on the shell side. Minute little things, whether that's changing the depth of the connector socket or just changing the angle of the canal. These kinds of changes are happening all the time. The ID changes are the easiest to see, and they reflect how what we think looks good, and we're going to continue doing that.
I was going to say the short answer is it just looks better.
We think.
Yeah, we think. So hopefully you guys agree. We want to thank you for being a part of this Q&A. Hopefully we've answered your questions. If you have more, you can always hit us up on socials or send an email or call us. Sometimes we pick up calls. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you guys like this kind of thing, let us know, and we'll do more in the future. But unless we have any other questions, which I don't think we do, again, thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for being interested in our products, for purchasing them, for letting us know how we're doing. So again, this has been Vitaly Belanoshko with
Vitaly G.
And we hope to see you guys later. And so have a great day. God bless you guys. And we'll see you later.